Let's play a little game. I'm going to read something from my not recommended book. And then I'm going to show you a few videos on my computer screen. And then I'm going to leave it at that. You guys ready to play? Alright. This is a chapter called Take Responsibility for the Face of the World. The symbols of today enable the reality of tomorrow. Notice that swastikas and other signs of hate. Do not look away and do not get used to them. Remove them yourself and set an example for others to do. I get the idea of this, but I'm going to go somewhere a little different with it. And I'm going to try to read this to you real quick, okay? Life is political, not because the world cares about how you feel, but because the world reacts to what you do. The minor choices we make are themselves a kind of vote, making it more or less likely that free and fair elections will be held in the future. In the politics of every day, our words, our gestures, or the absence of our words and gestures count very much. A few extreme or less extreme examples from the 20th century can show us how. In the Soviet Union under the rule of Joseph Stalin, prosperous farmers were portrayed on propaganda posters as pigs. The dehumanization that in a rural setting clearly suggests slaughter. This was in the early 1930s as the Soviet state tried to master the countryside and exact capital for cash industrialization. The peasants, who had more land or livestock than others, were the first to lose what they had. A neighbor portrayed as a pig is someone whose land you can take. Remember my last video about people who did nothing and looked on? As a matter of fact, they participated in the theft of the Jews because they were neither Nazis nor Jews. They end up becoming victims as well. Don't think it won't happen to you. A neighbor portrayed as a pig is someone whose land you can take, but those who followed the symbolic logic became victims in their turn. Having turned the poorer peasants against the richer peasants, divide and rule. It doesn't say that here, but remember I made another video about divide and rule. That video is called The Oneness versus the 1%. Having turned the poorer peasants against the richer, Soviet power then seized everyone's land, and for the new collective farms. Collectivization, when completed, brought starvation to much of the Soviet peasantry. Millions of people in the Soviet Ukraine, Soviet Kazakhstan, and Soviet Russia died horrible and humiliating deaths between 1930 and 1933. This is not easy to read. Before it was over, Soviet citizens were butchering corpses for human meat. In 1933, as the starvation in the USSR reached its height, the Nazi Party came to power in Germany. In the euphoria of victory, Nazis tried to organize a boycott of Jewish shops. It goes on about the Germans and how they would take over Jewish shops. You might one day be offered the opportunity to display symbols of loyalty. This is the German shops that the German Nazis took over would basically require them to display their loyalty to the Nazi Party, or else the shops would be destroyed. Make sure that such symbols include your fellow citizens rather than exclude them. This is important. Even the history of lapel pins is far from innocence. In Nazi Germany in 1933, people wore lapel pins that said yes, quote unquote, during the elections as a referendum that confirmed the one-party state. In Austria in 1938, people who had not previously been Nazis began to wear the swastika pins. What might seem like a gesture of pride can be a source of exclusion, because if you're wearing the swastika for the Nazi Party, you're speaking out silently against the Jewish people. In the Europe of the 1930s and 40s, some people chose to wear swastikas and then others had to wear yellow stars. In the late history of communism, when no one believed in the revolution anymore, offering a final lesson about symbols, even when citizens are demoralized and wish only to be left alone, public markers were still can still sustain a tyrannical regime. When Czechoslovakian communists won elections in 1946 and then proceeded to claim full power after a coup in 1948, many Czechoslovak citizens were euphoric. When the dissident thinker Václav Havel wrote, quote, "The Power of the Powerless," it's a book. 3 decades later, in 1978, he explained the continuity of an oppressive regime in whose goals and ideology few people still believe. He offered a parable of a greengrocer who places a sign reading, quote, "Workers of the world, unite," in his shop window. It is not that the man actually endorsed the content of the quotation from the book The Communist Manifesto. He placed the sign in his window so that he could withdraw into daily life without trouble from the authorities. So he pretended to he put the sign on there pretending to be loyal just so he could be left alone. When everyone else followed the same logic, the public sphere is covered with signs of loyalty, and the resistance becomes unthinkable. As Havel put it, we have seen that the real meaning of the greengrocer's slogan has nothing to do with what the text of the slogan actually said. Even so, the real meaning is quite clear and generally comprehensible because the code is so familiar. The code, the symbols, the meaning. Here we go. The greengrocer declares his loyalty in the only way the regime is capable of hearing, that is, by accepting the prescribed ritual, by accepting appearances as reality. Accepting appearances as reality. We're going to go to the videos in a minute and I'll show you what I'm talking about. By accepting the given rules of the game, thus making it possible for the game to continue, for it to exist in the first place. End quote. And his final sentence in this chapter is, and what happens if no one plays the game? What happens if no one complies to the game? I'm going to turn this video camera around and I'm going to show you a couple things. First, we're going to start with remembering a video from last year. I found a video from last year about the coronavirus. Okay? It's going to be backwards, and I'm sorry, but listen to this. It's only going to be a few seconds.
COVID-19, caused by a coronavirus, has led to a pandemic that threatens everyone. The overriding strategy to limit the damage and to beat this pandemic is to flatten the curve and raise the line.
Remember, flatten the curve? How long was that supposed to last? Was it 2 weeks or 30 days? This video was made March 20th, 2020. Did we flatten the curve? Well, let's find out. Let's just open up Google and take a look. Oh, what's this? Are these little Google characters wearing masks? You hover over it, it says, "Get vaccinated, wear a mask, save lives." Why is Google still wearing masks after a year and a half? Let's go to a commercial. Everybody loves Disney. Disney Cruise Line. Disney Cruise.
The moment you step aboard. Because here...
Whoa! Little girl. This commercial is from December 25th, 2020.
Dreams really do come.
Dreams really do come true.
Dreams.
The moment you step aboard, you better be wearing a mask. Let's go to another one. I've mentioned this commercial in the past before. Great Wolf Lodge in Manteca.
As we welcome you to Great Wolf Lodge, our team is working around the clock to keep your family safe while you take some time to play. With our Paw Pledge, we're exceeding sanitization standards, performing daily wellness checks. You take some
Look at
time
the
to
children
play.
bouncing
With our
around.
Paw Pledge, we're exceeding sanitization
In the background, did you see
standards,
it?
performing daily wellness checks, requiring face coverings, and limiting our capacity.
Story time!
Here, your pack will have plenty of space to explore, enjoy, and experience a little extraordinary.
Oh, she's so
Stay
happy.
safe while you play. Plan your trip today.
They're so happy. It's so sweet. Watch the symbols. They're everywhere. Sister Faith posted a video. It's creepy as shit. A group of people wearing these shirts that say proud and rainbows, and they're all singing about vaccine, get vaccinated. It's a very catchy tune. That's another thing. Catchy tunes, wonderful songs that make you feel good, singing about getting the vaccine. It's subliminal. It's up here, and everywhere you look, you see the masks on people. It's the new normal. It is the new lapel pin. It is the new sign in the grocery store. Now, I'm going to touch on something else real quick. I've mentioned things about preemptive programming in the past. Preemptive programming, I have been asked about this a couple times, okay? It's okay. If you don't understand what it means, I'm going to explain it to you. Predictive programming. Predictive programming is theory that the government or higher-ups are using fictional movies or books as a mass mind control tool to make the population more accepting of planned future events. This was first described and proposed by researcher Alan Watt. It's a subtle form of psychological conditioning provided by the media to acquaint the public with planned societal changes to be implemented by our leaders. Who's our leaders? What? If and when these changes are put through, the public will already be familiar with them and accept them as natural progressions, thus lessening the possible public resistance and commotion. So, public programming, predictive programming. Here's a fun movie from 2007, I think it was. 2007, called Idiocracy. It's hilarious until you see it again after the way the world's changed. Let's take a quick look.
Don't worry, Stro. Now there are plenty of tards out there living really.
So basically, it's a quick gist of the movie. I forgot to tell you. A guy goes into an army experiment that was supposed to cryo-freeze him for 1 year. And during that time, the base actually underwent a demolition and everything, and they forgot about him and another girl that were frozen. For 500 years, they sat. And when they came to life, the world had changed into complete civilization of idiots. That's why it's called Idiocracy. And what he has just woken up. He's seeking medical assistance, and this guy that he's talking to is the doctor. Okay, here we go.
Kick-ass lives. My first wife was tarded. She's a pilot now.
I need for you to be serious for a second here, okay? I need help.
There's that fag talk we talked about. Alright, so that'll be this many dollars.
This many dollars.
You could just go ahead. Tattoo and shit.
This thing has the same misprint as that
Scan your
magazine.
tattoo.
What are the odds?
Where's your tattoo? Tattoo? Why don't you have this? Where's your tattoo?
Where's your tattoo?
Why come you don't have a tattoo?
How come you don't have a tattoo?
You're not unscannable, are you?
Oh my.
He says, "You're not unscannable, are you?"
God!
You're unscannable.
Look at his reaction. Look at his reaction. This, just picture this in my mind. This is the way people are going to react to the unvaccinated.
No, you don't understand. You gotta let me talk to someone in the army. They're all dead. Everybody I know is dead. Oh my God! What's happening?
Okay, enough of that. You actually start to feel dumber the more you watch this movie. Here we go. Let's read something. I know this is for animals, pets. Permanent identification, microchips, and tattoos. What a great question. Permanent identification is extremely important in cats and dogs. Okay. What happens someday when this becomes a great idea for people? Because a tattoo can only be performed under general anesthesia, your puppy's neuter date is perfect time to consider having this done. He will be given a small tattoo in his right ear when he's sleeping. The tattoo is composed of a combination of 3 to 7 letters and digits. This set of letters and digits and numbers is specific to your dog. No other pet in the province will have the same combination of characters. If your pet is found and taken to a veterinary clinic or the Humane Society, the staff will be able to trace the tattoo back to the clinic originally placed the tattoo. And your veterinary clinic keeps a database of their tattoos. And if you have kept your phone number and address current through your pet's original veterinary clinic, your vet will be able to notify you that your pet has been found. Or they can track you and find you wherever you are. Okay, maybe that's a little too Alex Jones for some people. So, microchips are implantable identification devices that is widely used across the world. The chips are around the same size of a grain of rice and are scanned during specialized scanning devices, and almost all clinics, rescues, and officers have. Oh, I skipped, there's a glitch in my thing. Tattoos are always done under anesthetic. They are usually placed under the ear and consist of a combination of letters and numbers that identifies the rescue clinic or performed tattoos, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What's the difference between these two articles that I just read you? Shit, I just closed it. Dang it, took me forever to find that too. Okay, so the second article that I just read you is not for a veterinary clinic. It's actually one of articles that came from a journalist that investigated new microchip technology for Tesla. Tesla microchipping their employees and possibly tattooing them for easy access in and out of their facility, and the citizens who get this done can actually maintain their good record of conduct with local authorities so that they don't have to go through a screening process each and every time. And if they travel, and they travel for Tesla, they can skip through the TSA process. They can skip through any other authority process because they've already been processed through Tesla and deemed clear. Good citizen. Good boy. Just like the pets. Good boy. Good girl. Very obedient. You get a cookie. Okay, that's all I have to say. It almost makes me a little bit mad. But I'm not going to lecture. I'm just going to leave you all with that. I didn't even have time to find scripture on this, and I'm already going on 20 minutes. So, you guys, take care of yourselves, because I love you that I put these out here. And I hope you're loving each other. Stay salty.